Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Alisha Braché here at Cosmic Gateway in conjunction with World Unity Week. And I'm so super excited to introduce my next guest. She is a quantum healing hypnosis practitioner and beyond quantum healing practitioner. Did I get that right? From Portland, Oregon. And if you don't know her work already, you should totally check it out. And I am very privileged to call her a very dear soul sister of mine. Let me present Allison Coe. Allison, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Alicia. It's nice to see your beautiful face again. As always, anytime I see that face, I'm like, oh, it's Alicia.
Oh my goodness, I feel like this, I'm going to preface this because I feel like this has been in the pipeline in the making for quite some time. And before we sat down to record this, I was kind of reflecting on your work, and I was reflecting on like how this has all sort of come together and interlinks. And obviously throughout this conversation, we'll be talking about topics like the event and New Earth, dreams and sacred sites. That's sort of where we're going to go in this conversation. But I was thinking about when I first came across your work and how it changed my life. And if you don't mind me sharing that, because it
Not
was a
at
pivotal
all.
marker. And it was June solstice in 2017, and so it's almost like an anniversary gone here. Um, and so what happened was, in the beginning of 2016, I had a very vivid dream. I say that in inverted commas because I know it was more than a dream, which was about what some people would call the event. um, and it was very vivid and it stayed in my mind. And during that June solstice period, I was in a very low point in a dark night of the soul, and I had kind of given up hope on my journey. And then Coe popped up on YouTube with this video that talked about almost word for word identical what I had experienced in that dream state. And it gave me so much hope. And I just wanted to preface that because I know that the work that you do and what you share online really does that for so many people around the world. And just a credit to the work and sharing and to the clients that allow you to share, because it seems like there's this pattern with you and I that I have noticed, that I'll have a downloader inside of something will come through in a session, and then days later, boom, you're on YouTube and it's like the same info. I'm like, oh, it's so amazing and it's so validating. And just little things that you wouldn't even know. Like, I was in a session with a client a few weeks ago, and she said to me, oh my God, I had this crazy dream in January. And then Allison Coe's video almost said word for word what I experienced in my dream about
Oh,
the, yeah. And so I hear this feedback all the time with your work. And, that's why I thought it'd be so great to bring you on here for World Uni Week and have a chat and talk more about that. And hopefully, for people who may be new to your work, to go and check that out. So that's my little preface and my own personal connection to
hey.
to you and the work that you do.
Oh, I'm so honored and I'm so touched by that story. And your story is definitely mirrored, thousands upon thousands of times. Through these comments in these sessions that I post, and it is amazing. And the validation is key. Like you said, you instantly get validation that you're on the right track, that you're not crazy, that you didn't just make it up. There's other people saying this stuff, so that's meant to propel you further. And that's what people need right now. They need an impetus to keep going and not be like, I'm just crazy, I made it all up. And I'm so glad that my clients allow me to share this stuff. And I'm so glad that it gives hope. And I certainly don't post anything that won't give hope, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't need that junk. We don't need
There's
it,
enough
and it
out there
hardly ever
already.
comes my way. Yeah, exactly. So I try to only post things that would feed the hearts of people and keep them moving forward and refill their battery, because so many light workers are just running low. They're running very often. They're just running on empty, and they don't see any purpose, to keeping up that high vibration half the time. And they need to keep it up. We need them to keep it up, and it is hard unless you do have hope and unless you do have validation. So many people don't have others in their lives who are going through the same thing, and so the validation has to come from outside of them, online very often. And I'm happy to be just one of those seeds of hope out there. And like I said, I don't do my job alone, so thank God for the clients. And you've been a client before, and I've been trying to get you back in for years. I'm like, Alicia, get back. We need another session, girl. Oh, I can't wait for that. I cannot
Yeah.
wait. And then we're going to share it, and people are going to know what's going on.
Yeah, I think about that. I'm like, all the information that's good. Because a dear friend of mine's a BQH practitioner, and she supports me when I need that support. And the stuff
Yeah.
that comes through the sessions is absolutely wild. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I believe it.
I look forward to that.
Oh, well, at least that's good. So at least you have a buddy who's giving you these sessions regularly, and that's what's most important. It doesn't matter who's giving them to you. So if you can't have a session with me, at least you're having them. That is so important.
I
Yeah.
know, but I think if you get something different from each practitioner, because my work in the energy work, and I work with a lot of various different practitioners, and I think it's like the vibrational signature of that individual that something different would come through. I imagine, so I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, what is gonna happen? I look forward to it. So
Yeah.
after World
Well, I'll
Healing,
tell you, a few too many cuss words are going to happen.
right?
Only for the special few that I know. No. Otherwise, I'm on good behavior. On good behavior.
You've been doing really well, but
Thank
I
you.
I have to share this because I think that the timing of I'll call them the YouTube drops that you do seems to come at a time where people do need that injection of hope, and especially like the last video that you put out around disclosure and things like that. I tend to share that far and wide when it's so funny because I'll be in the middle of a session and I'll have a pop up and Allison Coe is posted, and it's like this, oh quick, like I can't get out of the session quick enough. Oh, what's this? It's really quite an exciting time. And I remember this last one I shared with my dad, and then I saw my dad the next day, and he's like, oh, can you show me how to share? And I was like, what do you mean, Dad? He's like, oh, I want to share it to the whole family. It's like, oh dear, okay.
Oh.
And he did. So it's funny. And I wanted to drop this in. So one of a very close soul sister of mine, she asked if she could put in a question during this interview with you, and and she wrote it down for me, and I said, okay. So her question was, dear Allison, long time listener, first time complainer, can you please use one video a week? Thank you, humanity.
Oh, oh man.
And I said, I don't think that's possible, but I'll ask.
So I appreciate your friend, and I appreciate you sharing that with your dad. That is an amazing story on so many levels. I can just imagine your family like being like, "What? Why?" Oh, I don't even share this stuff with my family, but maybe your family is more into this stuff than me. But my parents the other day were like, they came to visit to watch my daughter for a couple weeks while I was in Egypt, and they were like, "Wow, a really funny thing happened the other day. We were watching our regular English real estate home buying shows that they love to watch. They love to watch these little move into a village, home shows, on the BBC and stuff. They love those. And we were watching that show, but we had to watch it on YouTube. And the next thing that popped up, my mom was like, I was looking, and the next thing that popped up, it wasn't the show. And I was like, oh, she's good looking. And then she's like, oh my God, that's my daughter. And she was like, I was so shocked to see you up there. And completely unrelated to everything else they watch was my big old face being all, ooh, disclosure or something. And then she's like, no matter how many times we tried to reload and like get rid of you, basically, you kept popping up. And I was like, well, did you listen? She's like, for about 5 minutes. And then they moved on. But it's always funny when people are introduced, even your own family, even my own parents, when they're introduced to the stuff, and some of it, they handled about 5 minutes of that stuff. But back to your friend. I would love, love, love to post more often. And I was talking to a buddy of mine, and I was thinking, okay, I was brainstorming because that helps me remain accountable in some way if I speak out loud. And I was like, I would love to do a weekly kind of recap on whatever platform there is out there, maybe with subscribers. I'm not sure. I haven't dove deep into it, but I was like, I would love to do just a weekly summary recap of some of my sessions. I mean, just because so many go by. I do this 5 days a week. I'm constantly like inundated with this stuff, and luckily so, believe me. And but I can't keep up on it. I can't keep up with it. I can't dole it out properly because I'm just too busy. And that would be a great way to just be like, here's some information, here, and so it would look different than like a whole transcribed session. But it would be a fun thing. But then I'm also a complete introvert. And so it takes me a couple months to get up the nerve to be like, oh, okay, you gotta do it, girl. You've been slacking. You gotta get out there again. Put on your big girl panties.
You're right. I was thinking about that, and I kind of took a those fact. I mean, obviously that comment and that question was a bit tongue in cheek, but I was thinking about that, and I must have sort of tapped into it. I was like, wow, if you could just have someone that was going to help, transcribe or help you produce it, it would be possible. But I understand that your work is very intensive, and I know that you do this on a full-time basis, and there's really not enough hours in the day, really, when you're working with so many people and supporting so many people, and obviously being a mom and trying to live a human life, going through this crazy transition and chaos. So but
Yeah.
hopefully, if that would be great to look forward to if that comes together. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I would like that to come together. And so I'm putting that out to the universe, kind of putting in my order, to the universe. I would like to do that. Whatever you need to move out of my life, any of the Netflix series I may not even be aware I'm watching because I'm zoning out. Move it out. If you need to get rid of my Netflix, feel free. Oh, yeah, sometimes I got it because sometimes I gotta relax a little bit. Don't we all? Anyway, so yes, that would be fun though. It would be really fun, and people, like we were talking about, people really need this hope. And I'm not the only one who's doing this work. So another call out to all these other practitioners, put your stuff out there. If it's filled with hope, share it, or truth, share it, please share it. People need it. So, you know, that's my call to you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to play their part. So,
Yeah.
well, let's move along. Can we start at the event? What people have,
Yeah.
the event. Um, when did this information, like, can you give us a little bit of background or context around I imagine most of the people who are watching this would be familiar with what that means, but can you give us a little bit of like backstory of when this information started coming to you and what was that process like? Because I know, well, I know a little bit, but I think it was in terms of collecting a lot of data of the same information over and over again,
Right.
and how that has changed over the years of the information coming through as it does.
Right. So great question. So I started doing this hypnosis, quantum healing hypnosis, first, about what year is it? It's 2020. Okay, so so 6 years ago, I started doing this for a living, right? And after a couple months of doing this, I started getting randomly clients who were expressing, well, who were experiencing or being told by the higher self that something big this way comes, right? Something big was going to happen that would change their lives forever. And some of them would be asking about a loved one and their current pattern of abuse, alcohol abuse or this or that. And they would be told, oh yes, don't worry about them. Something big is happening and they'll be exposed to it. And then another client would be asking about certain debt. And they were told, you know, don't worry about that for too much longer. That's not going to affect you too much longer. Something big is coming. And then when we would probe it further in the session, it would be that there was going to be a massive, some of it was just a massive wave of light, a massive flash. Some called it the event, and over and over again, I would start getting clients who would give me little snippets. And this is before I did any videos or anything like that. So it's not that they were listening to some of the stuff that I was putting out there and then saying, oh yeah, me too, and jumping on a bandwagon or anything like that, which is, you know, we all can do that accidentally. And no, that was not the case. These were very much independent people who were having similar experiences. And, you know, even with regards to what direction the light would come in, what it would actually do to them when it affected them, what it would do to the earth, what would be leading up to it. And so I started posting about this stuff. I started doing, because I hate writing, and I love reading other people's writing, but I hate writing. And I was like, oh, I'm just gonna have to do a video because I'm so lazy. And then I was like, but you're an introvert, and so I had to like really really battle myself and was like, I don't want to do these videos. And so I had my own session, and I've had many, and I asked, you know, why do I keep getting this hit that I should do videos? And they said, because you're supposed to do videos, people need to be prepared for what's happening. They need to hear this stuff. And I was like, ah, darn it. Okay. I'm totally reluctant, which is why I don't do many videos anymore. And because I don't want to be always on the screen or anything like that, or in front of a computer. And so I gathered the information that was coming through these sessions, and only, I'm talking to Alisha, only, you know, maybe 1/10 of the information, because simply put, after a while, I couldn't remember whose session said what on which day and this and that, because I didn't have that filing system yet, and sometimes still don't. And so I was like, okay, I remember the big ones. And so I put the information out there, and people reacted pretty amazingly to it. It was a big reaction because it validated what they were already experiencing, whether that was through dreams, meditations, channelings, remote viewings. Everybody's getting this information, right? And so this is just one more layer of that information. And when it came so independently, people who didn't know each other were all saying the same things, it was really valuable. Now, the thing that throws a lot of people off and makes it really unpalatable, this information, is when we attach a timeline to it, or when a timeline is inserted, because then it's all screwed up, because that time frame never happened. So I don't believe any time frame that's out there, even if I'm the one who said it. I never believe it, because I'm just like, well, prove it. Like, show me. I know this thing is going to happen. I've known it's going to happen before I ever started doing this work, right? I felt it. It actually is what, huh?
I was actually going to ask you that. That's my next question. Did you?
Yes. So that was, we all have an ability, right? A psychic gift or an ability. Some people are clairaudient, where they hear things. Some people are clairvoyant, where they see things. And some people are highly empathic or intuitive. And some people are like claircognizant, like myself. I just know things, right? And one day I woke up knowing, before I ever knew who Dolores Cannon was, before I ever knew what the work that I do right now, before I ever knew about that work, I woke up knowing one day that there were two Earths, right? And that they were overlapped. One was a lower dimensional Earth, one was a higher dimensional Earth, and everything that we wanted in this life was actually on this higher dimensional Earth. And they were slowly splitting apart like a Vesica Pisces, and pretty soon they wouldn't be overlapped. Pretty soon we were going to be in one, and that there was going to be something big that caused this shift. And I knew it was going to be an energy shift. So I had all these, I had these knowings. And then finally one day, I kept getting Dolores Cannon, a little old lady who created this hypnosis that I do. Her videos kept popping up on my YouTube. And at the time I was an accountant, and I would listen to all these spiritual studies all day long. That was the best part of that job. I would just feed myself all of this spiritual stuff all day long, right? And I know tons of people are doing that. And but her face would pop up, and I'd be like, no, she can't be interesting. No. And it was complete ageism, right? And one night I got in an argument with my then husband. And that night I was like, I need to listen to something that will help me fall asleep, because otherwise I'm just going to be chewing on this conversation that we had, and I know not to do that. So give me something to distract myself. And I looked up YouTube, and there she was again. And I was like, perfect, she'll make me fall asleep. Holy crap on toast, man. Within a couple minutes, she was at a conference, and within a couple minutes she said what she did for a living. And that was fascinating. I had my eyes closed. I was trying to fall asleep, right? So I wasn't even watching it. And then she said, all of this information is coming through my sessions, whether they're in Japan, Canada, Australia, Germany, America, it doesn't matter. All of this information is coming from these clients, that there are two Earths, and that they are currently overlapped, and they're splitting apart. One is the lower dimensional Earth, one is the higher vibrational, higher dimensional Earth. And I was like, what? And I shot up like a light, picked up my phone, and she's like, we have a picture of it. And it's the picture. I've been drawing this picture for 3 months already. And I was like, holy mother. And so from that point on, I knew that I needed to pay attention to this woman, what she was, she was such a prolific author. So I started reading all her books, or as many as I could, and listening to her. And I was like, this is amazing. This is a path that I obviously need to go on. The universe just told me. And so then to, having that knowing, and then later, years later, actually doing the work, and then starting to have these seeds dropped into my work that validated what I knew without me ever saying it, because that's a big no-no. You never feed the client what your opinion is, what your information is, what your belief is. That's not your place. That's not my place, right? And so So keeping all that aside, having that validation of the, yes, this is happening. Here's what it's going to look like. Here's how it's going to affect people. Here's what we can expect to happen to all of these systems on Earth as this nears. Here's what to look for. And that's everything that's going on right now. Everything that's going on right now, I started reporting on years ago, right? And it's the crumbling of all these systems, the people standing up and rioting, and vaccinations. All of this stuff has been reported on and to look out for. And then what also is the next thing is the roar, the rage, that the heartache, that just this whole like just feeling of like, no, because something, when we start actually getting, instead of just being spoon fed these little bits of information in the truther community, when it really comes out what's been going on, what governments have been doing, what the elite have been doing, what we've been exposed to, how controlled we've been, how manipulated we have been, and the fact that you and I were just talking about the system of healthcare, whether that's for humans or animals or anything, and how screwed up that is, and how it keeps us in debt slavery, and it just keeps us so broke, and it's somebody always loses in these systems when we have the technology to heal. We have the technology to instantly heal. Everything is being kept away from us, right? So when this stuff starts coming out, the dam is just about to burst. When it starts coming out, that's the indication that this flash is near. It's coming. It's so close. So we're at the end of the end right now. We're at the very end of the end. And that's been reported. That's some of the most recent stuff that's been coming out the past 6 months through my sessions is, congratulations, you're almost done. Sometimes that comes through from higher dimensional beings who have gone through a flash. Sometimes it's from the higher self themselves. Sometimes it's just from the client being propelled into the future. And it is absolutely amazing to know that we are almost done. Who knows when the final thing is going to happen? We don't know. We don't know. We can't possibly know because there's so many factors involved. And there are beings that can control this energy, right? There are beings that can stop it. Sorry, that's my dog. Hey, there are beings that can control this energy. And so if we can't handle it yet, then they kind of siphon it, they stop it, they kind of put a shrink the pipeline, shrink the flow of it. But at this point, we keep hearing, no, 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 no. Like that can't be done anymore because the earth needs this. The earth is going through her own karmic cycle, right? And her own rebirth. And she can't have that put off anymore, right? And so that's really, really amazing to feel like, we're almost done. Just a little bit more. Just, a couple more pushes, If you use the birth analogy, it's a couple more of the hardest pushes you could ever imagine. But we need that. People need that right now. And that's why hope is so important. It's so important because we need light workers, we need star seeds, we need awake people to carry this hope, to have their batteries recharged that yes, this is happening. Yes, this is happening. So that's the information that keeps coming from my sessions. But if you want more detail, by all means, I will share more detail.
Oh my goodness, so many things are going off in my head, and that I love listening to you speak because it sparks so much. But I think the feeling of that it's so close is something that is sort of felt by a lot of people, and it's time is so hard to pinpoint, right? Yeah, as we go further in, we realize how non-linear we're living, and it, but it's like looking for those key markers. And I love the fact that what you've been putting out for a number of years, we are actually in the process of going through what has come through your sessions. And
Yeah.
I just want to say this, it's like in my head, so I'm going to say it. In terms of the whole time frame thing, I don't know if I ever told you this, but when you first started putting out information and there was like a possible time, and there was the time frame given that a lot of people had, which was around March, I think, I can't remember what year.
Mhm.
And I know that I went through an experience in dream state. I wasn't dreaming, but I was asleep, but I was in
Mhm.
an altered state, let's say. And it was in that time frame where this energy wave came through. I was like suspended in space, and it came through and it went through my body, and I was literally knocked down. I felt this energy surge go through my body. It was so specific
Ooh.
in the color and the frequency and what it did. And I woke up the next morning and I was forever changed. And I had
Ooh.
3 days to try and process what I had just gone through and experienced. I'll never forget this. I was hanging out my washing, trying to like make sense of it all, right? And the thing that came through to me was Allison was right. And then I was like, oh my goodness. And I was like, because bear with me in my quirky ways of how I interpret things. I'll try and explain it best that I can. But when I know in your sessions, when you're dealing with people and you're dealing with the higher self, that's a higher aspect that's in a higher dimension, which is on a different timeline, as I understand it to be. And I was like, in that moment, my higher self actually went through that experience in preparation to then be able to hold more light. And that was my way of
Mhm.
understanding it. And I know that around that time, a lot of people went through a very similar experience. And I think that's the part that I find really fascinating, is that I do think that we're constantly being upgraded, whether it's cosmic energy that's coming in or our galactic family that's overriding us. But we can't pinpoint these times. No one knows exactly how it's going to unravel, at least I believe. But we all have this sense of knowing that it's coming and it's
Yeah.
close. And
Right.
I think in some of your sessions, what has come up and summarized so beautifully is the friction of the more chaos, the closer it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And that chaos is it's such a release. It needs to happen, unfortunately. If people are called to riot or at least, in anger yell and make noise and unite and do this stuff, it's because they have that in them. It needs to come out.
Has
It
to.
absolutely needs to come out. So it's a very important thing. And if you're not called to do that and you're called to be in nature, go in nature. That's what's important for you. So that purging of that energy is really important. And the more that's coming out, the more you will see it. There is going to be some major heartbreak that's going to happen as these things are disclosed. And I hear about it almost every day, and I hear what the results are. In today's session, my client said that mothers everywhere are going to have their heart broken by some of the information that's coming out. And at first they just said mothers everywhere are going to scream in pain and have their heart broken. And I was like, oof, dude, I have a kid. I got a mom. I got a sister who's a mom. I got sister-in-laws. Like, friends who are moms, like, what is it? And they said it's because of some of the information that's coming out, and that just, as prepared as we think we are in this community. um, it's going to be heartbreaking. It really is going to be heartbreaking. And the truth is, if you feel like screaming and you feel like roaring, do it. It's important. Get it out. There's a massive purge going on, and you can't hold that stuff in. You need to get it out so that something new can come in. And so all of this is absolutely necessary for the process. We have to get out. We have to get this junk out. We have to get our emotions out. We have to express them, because just as we know there's an event that's going to happen, just as we know that we have galactic brothers and sisters who are out there, who are a part of us, who are helping us, who are the higher dimensional versions of us, we also know that there is disgusting stuff happening, unfortunately, and it's been happening for millennia. And there are abominations against men, women, children of all types. And I say all types because there are all types here on earth, and they are being, it's just unbelievable what's happening to them. And that's the stuff that is constantly coming through these sessions. And I don't generally share that stuff because it doesn't, we don't need to put more of that. We know it's there, and it's time, we need hope that it's going to end. Basically, we need hope that it's going to end. And that's what I try to share. Yeah, it's going to end, and here's what you need to do in the process, and here's what to look for to get more and more hope, and here's what your job is. And the cool thing is everybody has the job. Everybody has a job to do, and if they have a job, they have a purpose now for while the earth is in this state, and then they have a purpose for during this event or shift, whether they're ground crew or whether they're in spaceships or whether they're going inside of earth or whether they're automatically shifting to another frequency. Everybody has a purpose, and it shifts with this shift, right? And then there's afterwards, will you be on a 3D earth? Will you be on a higher dimensional earth? Will you be on another earth-like planet with your family? It's different for absolutely everybody. And it's really fascinating to get this kind of multicolored quilt going on about, what the possibilities are out there and how varied it is, right? And every time we have a session, whether it's me or one of the hundreds of thousands of other practitioners like me around the world, we're all getting puzzle pieces, and it's important to put them out there because it does apply to people and their experiences and their dreams and their knowings, their precognitive dreams. And it's fascinating. And that's what a lot of these comments on my videos are about. They're about how the client's experiences, how and their session, how it relates to that person's dream that they've had for 12 years, since they were 5 even, or just yesterday. And so that is fascinating to me. It's absolutely fascinating to me because sometimes we don't have the ability to go in. We're so busy, we're so distracted or busy with work, just trying to survive or keep up with all of the necessities of life and the family and the dogs in the household and all this stuff, that we don't have time to go into meditation and receive these cool downloads or anything. And nor maybe does everybody have the ability to do that. I know that's for sure the case. But dreams bypass the ego. They'll come in unbidden, right? And so that's really powerful to pay attention to. That just thrills me when people say that they had a completely similar dream, and that it was beyond a dream. It felt like reality, kind of like your dream about the Flash. It was so real, and you knew it was to prepare you. And that's what some of these sessions keep talking about, is that these clients have been preparing for years for this Flash and to play a role in it, right? Just fascinating, endlessly fascinating stuff.
It really is. And I think that's a really important key component, is not only in the sessions that people do in Beyond Quantum Healing, various different sessions and the information that comes through, but how it's married with the dream state that people are having and have been having their entire life. And I mean, I put out a post a few days ago saying, only because I get a lot of information come to me, and so I want to see what's going out in the community. So I posted
Yeah.
anyone been having dreams about spaceships or solar flash? And it goes bananas, because at the same time it seems like everyone is having similar experiences or dreams or downloads. And that's the exciting thing for me, is that you can see within the collective consciousness that there is this ramp up happening, or the shared experience of preparation and getting everyone in their points and where they need to be for their role as we move through this.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is so exciting. It's so exciting. And you posted that, and I think I'm hardly ever on Instagram, but on Instagram that day. I was on Instagram probably within a half an hour or something after you posted that, and there were 0 comments yet. And so to me, that's amazing. So I didn't get to read any of them, and because I was looking, I was like, oh, I can't wait to read some of these to see how, how they apply to like all these other comments that were posted under these YouTube videos that I did. So I really wanted to read those, and like I said, there weren't any yet. So that I want to go back and read those, because that is amazing, and you start to see such a common thread weave their way through these dreams. And I always place so much value on dreams. It's something I learned, like I said, when I was still an accountant. I started doing dream sharing with a buddy of mine, and we would share each other's dreams, and then we would translate them, and we did that for years. We would write down all our dreams, and after a while, doing this, you have 5, 6, 7 dreams a night that you can remember, and you're like, I don't have time to write these down. This is like my hand's starting to hurt, and it's just fascinating what comes through dreams. So I put a lot of stock in dreams, and they're so powerful. And I think I told you this right before we started the interview today, was that my first ever spaceship dream that I remember,
please tell us,
actually came two nights ago after reading that post that you put on Instagram. And I was like, Alisha. When I woke up, I was like, Alisha, you got in there. But I knew it wasn't that. And it was so crazy. So like I said, this was the first one that I ever remember. It doesn't mean they've never happened before. It just means that I didn't remember them. And I was with a group of people, and it was nighttime. Pitch black, and we start seeing this huge white kind of saucer shaped ball of light moving through the sky at super fast speed, and it was coming closer and closer on a about a 45-degree angle down through the sky towards us, and then we see it fly over us. Whoa! And it crashed into the ground. We were like, oh my god. And we truly were traveling in the night to it felt like we were trying to escape something. So we were traveling through the night, and all of this is symbolic to me. So we were traveling through the night, trying to get away from something, or we were leaving that area that we were just in, where the UFO just landed, crash landed. And so several of us were like, we need to go back and check that out. And I had this knowing that it would be okay to go back and check that out, and that these beings were like us. They were like us. They were humanoid, and they were not. It doesn't mean that non-humanoid ETs would ever harm us. Nothing like that. I'm not trying to say that. But in the dream, I was like, no, they're like us. We can go. We can trust them. We can go to them. We can check on them. And I remember getting up close to the craft and feeling the people in it, feeling these beings that were in it, and they certainly humanoid ETs. They weren't earthlings. And then I woke up, and that was it. But I was like, Alisha, you gave me that dream.
Sorry. Wow, that's incredible. I'm so curious now, because I have many theories, but one of my theories is, like, once you have a conscious your first dream, whether it's an ascension dream, event dream, or an galactic contact dream, they come hard and fast after the first one. It's like,
right?
Yeah.
Right?
The first one's
It's
really
like they
subtle.
flip the top.
Yeah, exactly. Makes you feel comfortable, and then it keeps on happening. So I'm going to be so curious to follow up with you in a few months and see what your dream space has been like.
Right. Yeah, that'll be fascinating. Man, I have to tell you, I've been going through this divorce for the last 2.5 years, and And I'm glad it's taken that long, actually, because we've become really good friends and have healed in the process and stuff. So we co-parent together really well and everything. But I have dreamed about my ex-husband every single night, and just as friends, just like I'll go to his girlfriend's house in my dream, and I'll like interact with them or have meals, and like it's just every single night, and it's just like living a life where we're all still like interacting and stuff, and never where we're really back together or anything. But I'm ready to switch to like you know, let's switch to UFOs. Let's switch to spacecraft and other. That's good. I've had those. 2.5 years is enough. They've occupied my consciousness for a little long.
Oh my goodness.
Let's upgrade. Let's switch to a different genre.
Now, I know we've only just really scratched the surface. We've only really just talked about like the event, solar flash, ET or galactic support in that. We've really how to prepare that there is things that are really going to, make humanity scream and uproar in that process of transition. And I know that we want to continue talking about different topics, but we have some guests in the waiting room. So,
oh, we do already?
Yeah. So, so I was just thinking maybe if you're okay with that, if we continue on to a different segment and invite our guests in, and we'll interfuse the topics that we haven't already spoken about, and whatever else comes through in that conversation. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I just want to hang out with them. I don't want to talk about anything more spiritual. Let's talk about farts and beer and no, I'm just kidding. Yes, that would be perfect.
So damn it. I would honestly, I would love to talk to you for hours and hours, because I think we could cover so much cool things. So hopefully maybe we'll get a chance to do this again some other time. But for this segment, for World Unity Week, I'm going to just wrap it up here and just thank you so much, Allison Coe. You are a true inspiration to humanity in the work that you do and what you put out, just holding us together, being our cheerleader, just being able to drop those dimes that, when us as a collective of light workers going through the mud, we just need that little bit of validation. And you're truly a gift, and I just thank you. And thank you for everyone for watching. If you aren't familiar with Allison's work, like, you have to check it out. So go over to her YouTube channel. Of course, if you're interested to have a session with her, I'll put all the details in the description box of where you can find her and connect with her there. And just thank you. Yeah, massive thank you. And we will continue this segment. So there will kind of be, this has only come together in the last few days, but there's kind of going to be this follow-on part 2, and we're going to do a mini roundtable, and I won't give it away. We have some special guests in the room, and we're going to continue this dialogue. So I really encourage you to come in and follow the conversation in this different segment for World Unity Week. And thank you all for being here. Thank you, Allison.
Thank you. Thank you, Alisha.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Alisha Braché here at Cosmic Gateway in conjunction with World Unity Week, and I'm super excited to present a small roundtable here. I have with me Allison Coe, and I have Aaron and Tyler from Journey to Truth podcast. So welcome, guys. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
We're excited to be a part of this. Thank you.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be this World Unity Week without bringing you guys on here. I mean, all three of you, sorry, I'm looking at two screens. There's such a pivotal aspect in, the galactic component to this shift, ascension, and disclosure. And, you two, all of you come from, I'll say a slightly different perspective, but it all formulates really beautifully together. So I'm super excited to talk with you about these topics. But we're gonna like continue on because Alison and I we were kind of edging on New Earth and sacred sites. So if we could just touch on that a little bit to segue in. So I'll throw out the question, like, how much New Earth, I know, Alison, in your work, it's amazing when you have clients that come through and talk about, you know, once we're through the shift and what New Earth looks like, and in so much beautiful detail. Is that a part of what you guys come across too, of content about, like, once the chaos has started subsiding and what, you know, where we're going with all this?
Or was that for Allison or us?
Either or.
You guys.
Yeah, so I guess I'll take this. I for some reason I thought Allison was answering that. Well, when I think of the New Earth, the biggest thing to me, you know, we hear about it. We've been hearing about it for quite a few years now. But every year goes by and it seems like nothing's happening, but it might just seem like that. I really do think this New Earth is being created simultaneously. At the same time, we're still living here on the old Earth, right? And the thing that fascinates me most is what the split looks like, this split, and how it's going to appear. We actually just had a guest on, Mark D. That was the last episode we did, and he received some really interesting information from a QHHT session that he did, as far as the split and how it's looking, and it's happening right now before our eyes, according to him. And I mean, if you look around, it's hard to disagree with, because you can be standing next to somebody and being existing in an entirely different program, a different world, and it's clear as day now. This virus has brought that to the surface. I mean, everybody's true colors are showing now. You see people for who they are, and almost for even the programs that they're existing in. So I feel like we're visible. If you know what to look for, you can see almost two different races of people.
Yeah, it's, especially since last year, it's become more and more obvious the different timelines that people are sitting on, and, you know, the different realities that people are existing within. Yeah. Alison, what have you? Oh, sorry. What have you got to add?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I find it fascinating that, yeah, exactly what Tyler said as well. It's like there are people who hold this vibration of this new earth within them, and they carry it around with them as they go throughout their everyday life, right? So they may take it with them into the coffee shop where somebody else is having a completely different experience, driving through traffic, you know, listening to one of their shows or anything. It's just the filter that we start living through, this higher vibrational new earth. But what I find absolutely fascinating is that I think so many humans, you know, knew that this was coming. They knew that humanity was supposed to live in this higher vibrational state where things like instant manifestation should happen, where things like telepathy should happen, where things like teleportation should happen. All of these abilities should be available to us. And that is why, if you look at every invention over the last several hundred years, or about 150 years, that they're all doing the things that we know as humans we should be able to do. We should be able to fly. We should be able to connect with one another across vast spaces. We should be able to travel at really fast speeds. We should be able to do these things. And I think it's fascinating that all of these inventions are out there. And then you think about, you know, what are the next steps? Like the healing modalities that have been squashed right now. Those should be available right now. So everything that we're doing is trying to emulate, trying to copy this higher vibrational state that we know we should be living in. So humans, whether they know about New Earth consciously or unconsciously, they're trying to get there. They're trying to experience all of these things that will be available to us. All of these psychic abilities will be available to us. And I just think it's amazing when you see what we're doing to try to get there already.
Yeah. I love it when you start to talk about things like teleportation. That just gets me going. And the new technology and the healing technologies, that's one of the things that I'm incredibly passionate about, because I do believe that there's much better ways than what we've known, and they are coming through, you know, bit more and more each day. So it's, you know, it's a messy time right now, but it is all purposeful, and we're all playing our role, aren't we? We all, you know, we all do our part, and it's, you know, it's transforming moment by moment in those ways.
I think, you know, I think people like Tyler and Aaron are doing such a pivotal, you know, they have such a pivotal role in the uptick towards this shift, because as I mentioned to you before, everything depends on this disclosure. Everything that it's like all these timelines come and go. They come and go. That's not what I pay any attention to, because I'll get them all the time and I'll put them out there, but I personally don't believe any of them. I'll just like watch them. But what I do believe
Disclaimer.
are the benchmarks. What I do believe are the benchmarks, right? And some of the benchmarks are the disclosure, right? Is the truth coming out there and causing an uproar? That is something that I do pay attention to. So I believe that Tyler and Aaron constantly, you know, they put out so many shows. They're always busy, and it's like, thank God for them. They're putting out so much information that people need to hear, and it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable information. A lot of it, you know, some of it gives hope, but a lot of it's like, ooh, goddamn,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
do I want a spoonful of truth? And I was telling Alisha before you guys came on, I get so much information in these sessions, but I only share the stuff that brings hope, because that's my job. That's my job. I need to stir those fires in light workers. I need to recharge their batteries, right? And say, don't worry, we're still moving forward. But the information that comes through isn't always like that. It is some of the most heartbreaking, hard to hear information out there. And so I always see it validated by the work that you guys do, but I can't share it. It's not my position to share that. So you guys, thank God you're out there, and you know, you have all of these guests who come on, and it is important, and I hope your viewership grows. And I'm always trying to talk you guys up, and just like, thank God.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the kind words. And if there's anything you ever don't want to say from your sessions, just tell us. We'll tell people.
It's your weekly segment,
We'll tell
Allison.
everyone. Like, here's what Allison didn't want to say that we're gonna say.
Yeah.
We have just
Yeah.
on that.
I
Yeah.
really appreciate you saying that, Allison, and I couldn't agree with you more. Sorry to cut you off, Tyler, but like, I truly believe we all have very unique specific roles in this, and that's where, you know, bringing people together like these conversations right now, because you guys have a very specific role in uncovering things that are a little hard to hear, but it's necessary, where you bring that
Right.
light of hope, and all that, you know, really helps this transition, because it's the dark and the light, you know, it all has to kind of come and merge together. So
Absolutely. Because go ahead.
No, I was just saying exactly. That's it right there.
That's enough said.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I want to hear your thoughts on the New Earth, and then I want to go back to the split, because I have something else to say, but you haven't said much yet. So
Yeah, I mean, so like the split, to me, it's like we kind of have two different realities overlapped right now on top of each other. So it seems like it's all the same, but it's like we're living in one reality where we're ascending with Gaia, and then there's the people that are in the lower timeline, and they're splitting apart, because, you know, as the frequency increases, like that's just how it's happening. But because of that, you have all this chaos and all this darkness coming to the surface and all this craziness, because that's what happens. You know, that's just the nature of it. So it can seem like it's getting worse, you know, or seem like it's because of that. And a lot of people, you know, there's different agendas playing out that are kind of scary, and a lot of people get caught up in the fear of that. But really what's happening is the darkness is just being exposed. Everything that's been hidden and like the darkness is coming to the surface and being exposed to be cleared, really, and to be seen by everyone, acknowledged and cleared. And you know, you can either, the people that aren't at the level to rise above that are going to get caught up in the fear and are going to stay on that lower timeline, unfortunately, because that's just where they're at. But the good thing is it's waking people up. So the people that are ready, they'll wake up and it'll be a catalyst, you know, all this for them to go on that new earth timeline. And then eventually the two are going to split, and then that'll be the new earth that we all imagine, you know, because right now it's kind of like still manifesting. It's still in that phase of like being created, and we're creating it, but it just looks really crazy right now.
So this is what you think about when you're just sitting on the couch.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I look at Aaron sometimes, and he has this stillness. He has this stillness about him, and I wonder what he's thinking about sometimes, because he's quiet a lot of the times. But then he comes with knowledge like this, and you're like, oh, okay, that's what's going on in there.
Exactly.
But getting back,
now you know.
And to add to that, and I'm kind of going to be just relaying what Mark D shared. He asked that his last name not be shared. That's why I'm using an initial. But what came through his session as far as the split goes is that, unfortunately, I mean, I don't know what this looks like around the world, but in the U.S., like, it kind of started with the election and who you voted for, and it didn't matter who you voted for, but it's like an IQ test that shows right there your level of awareness of the current situation. So, and then now with this jab going around, it's another test. Are you gonna comply? Are you gonna stand up for and become a sovereign being and take your power back? Mm-hmm. So it's another test, and it's like we're being tested right now. And unfortunately, you know, this is just what he shared. You know, if this vaccine is really what we think it is, it shortens the lifespan of people. And it's like subconsciously, this is the people making a choice without even knowing it on which timeline they're going to choose. So I guess when these people eventually die out, they don't come back to Earth, because Earth is done with the 3D. Earth is ascending as well, but they'll reincarnate on a 3D planet, like similar to Earth, and they'll relive that life, that experience, until they learn their lessons and rise above it. Eventually, we all get there, but it just takes it's longer for some people. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting when he explained it like that, and it kind of resonates in a way, you know. And I don't think that just because if you got the vaccine, that doesn't mean you're screwed. Like, I believe there's ways to transmute that, because some of us are being forced into it. So that, I'm not trying to put too much fear around that.
You said the word.
What?
You said the word.
Oh, that's okay.
Can I just validate really quick exactly that? So that information's been coming through my sessions too, and I was just listening to it, the next session that I'm going to post, that I'm going to transcribe, and I was just listening to it yesterday, and she was saying in the session, her higher self was talking about this heartache that she's going to go through. This client from a couple months ago, and I was like, well, what is that heartache about? And it said that people have made a choice. People have made a choice that about whether or not to go to this new earth, and that's become really apparent to her. And I was like, okay, well, I know they make a choice beforehand, but it sounds like you're saying that they've recently made a choice as well. And they said yes. Some people have made a choice by getting the jab, that they are choosing their timeline. They're choosing where they're going. So exactly what Mark D said. So let me just validate that has come through sessions. And And I do also know that stuff can be transmuted in a certain percentage of people, that can be transmuted, but in a different percentage, it's not meant to be. It's not meant to be. They're making that choice, and it's really, really heartbreaking. But it's also, you know, it's also their path, their journey to go on, because they're, like Tyler said, what comes through is also, yes, very much that they need to play out their time in another area, because yes, 3D Earth is done. They can't come back here, so they'll be taken to other places to live out that 3D life. So it is really fascinating that he's saying the exact same thing. Wow.
Yeah, I couldn't. I think it's awesome. First of all, that the same information's coming through. I think that within itself says enough to me. Where you
Yeah,
guys
it's hard to share that. Like I said, I have a job to do, and it's to share hope. And it's like, oh, that's gonna freak people out, because some people don't have, you know, that ability to grasp that people are on their own journey, because they love them so much, you know, my parents, my family, you know. And it's like, you know, we're all temporarily here. We're all, you know, we're all just barely, you know, interacting, and we'll come back to interact again. But yeah, there's this soul's growth that we all have to go on, and what I have to learn is different than what they have to learn. And so that's really hard for some people to grasp, though, when they hear this stuff. So I'm not looking forward to the comments from that one.
You know, this is,
get ready for that.
I guess this is the hard stuff you were referencing, that you said that we talk about on the show sometimes. But I found it interesting that you mentioned a percentage. There's a certain percentage of people that can transmute it, and there's a certain percentage that just aren't meant to. And yeah, I believe that with any type of disease, anything that you need to heal, if you can heal with whatever you believe in. If you believe you can do it, you can do it. And that's the only thing that stops other people from healing something. And that's what keeps them going to like Western medicine, or thinking that they have to see a doctor, because they don't believe they can do it themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're at a level of awareness, you know in your soul that you can transmute this vaccine. You can transmute it probably before it even enters your body. Let's just say you're forced to get it. You can probably set it up to where it's not even going to affect you.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd like to chime in, because that's sort of tipping into my area. And like you, Alison, I have so much information that comes through sessions that I just don't share. You know, I feel like I have a specific role, and I try and keep in the parameters of that, but I do energy work, and I have had several clients who have been forced into it, or have had to have it for whatever reason. And because there's a lot of information that been rolling around in the different communities about what it does to your soul, and what it does to your DNA, and what, you know, all the different types of effects on different levels. And I can only speak from what I've seen and experienced, but I can see that, yeah, there was a clearing process in one client who had it on that day that I saw her, and it was like a big session. But then I did one for another client who has a different frequency vibration, and her process in approaching it was very much like you just described, Tyler. And I didn't notice any anomalies in her frequency when I was working on her. So I think that goes to show that, you know, we do have the capacity to, you know, change our DNA and change our energy, and what, you know, we input into our body, depending on, you know, everyone has such specific individual circumstances, and not one way is, you know, better or worse. It's navigating through your own personal journey through this time. So I just wanted to share that.
My ear keeps buzzing every time I think about something I want to say, so I'm just going to say it. So it's just like we kind of covered it, but it just puts it in simple terms. Like, if you're forced into the shot, that's not your choice. What Allison said, it's the people who make the choice to get it. They're choosing that timeline, right? But when you're forced into it, there's a way out. It's just as simple as it. Simple as that.
Yeah.
I agree. There's a very clear distinction between the two, a very clear vibration between the two. Yeah, and some people get the shot knowing that they can also transmute it as
Mhm.
well. So they get it for their work and they're like, that's okay. It's not going to affect me. I know I can deal with this. But then others too, they're on their own path. They're on a path towards a different place. So they're the ones who, even if they wanted to, they couldn't transmute it. It's not for them to transmute. They're supposed to go in a certain direction. So it's fascinating how different it is for each person.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the information that comes out is always so varied, but it's very much specific to each person, very much.
Yeah, and that's kind of the common theme that we're seeing through this entire awakening process, this ascension, even the event or the flash or whatever you want to call it. It's turning out that this is more of an individual thing. I mean, we don't know what the future holds, but it seems to be that way for now.
Yeah, and I think too, it's like something we touched on, me and Alicia touched on before. It's like everybody has such a different role to play in this. And so what they think they're ready for, or what they think will happen, or the dreams that they have, or the hypnosis sessions that they have, or the psychics that they visit, or the channelings that they hear, may point them into a certain direction for this event or for this flash, or they may get upgrades before it, or this and that. It is so individual because of the different places that they will go afterwards and during, and the way their roles will change. Are they meant to stay? Are they meant to go? Are they meant to help others on a ship? Are they meant to immediately go to another planet? It is so individual. It absolutely is. Yeah.
And if you think you're ready, you're probably not. There's an inner knowing there. You'll know when you're ready. It's not even going to be a thought. Go ahead, Allison. You're going to say something.
I was going to say something that I actually thought about the other day, and it's this knowing that I've always had, that I've always felt like I'm not going to die here. I'm not going to die on this earth. I've tried to leave several times, especially when I was younger. It was unbearable to be here. Not because I had a great family and everything. I was just not meant for the world, especially during puberty. And and I tried to leave several times, but I had this knowing, I am not going to die here. I'm not going to die on this earth. I've always felt that. And so I also know that there are going to be some big traumas that I'm going to witness and have to hold space for, and they may not be personal, but they're things that I'm going to have to witness before I leave. But it's not going to be through death. And so to me, when I hear stuff about the event and this shift, then it all starts to make sense to me. I'm like, oh, that's why I've always had that. That's why I've always known that. I don't know how do all three of you, have you ever had those feelings?
Yeah. I'm so
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Glad you brought this up, because it sparks this memory in me. Because as a child, I always had these weird experiences I never spoke about, and I look back now, and a lot of it was like being taken up on ship and things like that, which has been uncovered. But I always had this knowing that something dramatic was going to happen, and I had a role to play in that. And like through my teens and adolescent and into my 20s was like pathing, trying to work it all out. And recently I've thought about two things, and one was when I was about 8, my parents took me to a psychic, or we went all together, and she was an amazing psychic. And she asked me, she did a reading for me, and she said, do you have any questions? And my first question as a child was, what's going to happen on Earth and how can I help? Because
Oh, no way.
I knew that something, I'm like, am I going to be okay? Are we going to be safe? What do we need to do to prepare? So I always had these questions as a kid. And I remember it when I was about 19, I found this little book. Now I can't even remember the name of it. I can remember it, and I had it through like a group that my dad was a part of, and it was like this little like mustard colored book that wasn't even properly published. It was like a self-publishing thing. And I remember reading that there was this event that was going to happen on the planet, and that people would be taken up into spacecraft because they wouldn't be able to sustain going through it, that they had to be supported. And I remember reading that as a teenager. Interesting.
Wow.
It wasn't way out for me, even though you would think it would be, you know. So it's interesting when you look back at all the little things, and the more information that you guys do and bring forward, it starts to bring the pieces of the puzzle together in making more sense of it for our own, to navigate each individual's journey, I think. So yeah, I don't know about you guys. Have you had those little like flashbacks of childhood and oh yeah?
Well, I mean, I think that happens to all of us.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I didn't have anything like that, but I just always had the feeling like I don't like I'm a visitor here. Like it's not where I belong, you know, that whole feeling. As a kid, I always felt like different in some way. But I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know how, you know, I had no idea. I just had the feeling until my awakening, really. And then I'm like, oh, okay, now it all so much makes sense, you know.
I'm going to make you a shirt that says just visiting.
Yeah. Please do.
Yeah,
that's a great shirt.
That's a perfect shirt for you. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you didn't cut me off.
No, but I, you know, it's funny you said you just kind of, Allison, you had that feeling like you knew like something, you just knew something was going to happen. You didn't know what. I had that feeling too before I had any idea. This was back when I was like in my atheist years, when I was just tough rebel, and you know, I was just going to do what I wanted. I always knew something. I felt like something was good was going to happen to me, but my mind, my small mind at that time, the best possible thing that I could have imagined happening to me was winning the lottery. Like that's all back then. So I always thought that I was going to win the lottery. Like I just had this feeling, just knowing like I'm going to win the lottery one day. I'm going to be fine. I don't even have to stress out about retirement. But as I went through this awakening, I feel like that's not what that feeling was pointing towards. It wasn't pointing towards winning the lottery. It's pointing to something much bigger that I still don't really know what it is, but I still feel it. I still feel like something's coming.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah. I think that's the feeling that's important, that, you know, I think so many of us, or for all of us really, we don't know what the unfolding is going to look like, and it oscillates and changes, you know, from second to second, I believe, as we reroute on this collective timeline, or the splitting. And a lot of it is very much feeling and knowing based, that we can't or don't have the vocabulary or the knowing, but we can feel it, we know it, you know, it's written within us, and we have that connection. But I don't think that we have the consciousness, because we're not on the other side yet, so we can't really. So I love that analogy of like winning the lottery, like, and knowing that it was something big. And I think as we expand more and more, we start to then slip into having a better context around it, or language around it, or vision around it. And I think, you know, in the work that you guys do, helps people to build that sort of data bank of putting all the pieces together.
Yeah, well, thank you guys both for all the kind words on the work we're doing, because it's just a passion, you know. It's not even, it doesn't even feel like a job. It's just like, yeah, we're supposed to do this. And then the comments that we get just reassures us that, you know, it's helping people. We've had people reach out, say, you know, you've changed my life, or you saved my life, like real stuff like that. Yeah. That, you know, I'm just living my life, like going about my day. And then when you read something like that, it kind of stops you in your tracks. I'm like, okay, like we're really doing something here.
Right. And I think that's what we're all doing for each other, is we're all giving each other, you know, a chance to live a better life, and we're all saving each other's life, and we're all enhancing it. And just about everybody in the community who gets out there and shares a little bit is doing that. And so, you know, anybody who's watching this who may be on the fence about whether or not to share their experiences or what they know, it could save somebody's life. It could shift everything in their life. And please get it out there. And like I said, Alisha, in the last segment, you know, there are so many practitioners out there who do this work, and there's you who do this energy work. It's like there's so much information to share, and we need more voices out there sharing this stuff to drown out all the other crap that's out there. So everybody needs to start sharing this stuff, because somebody, you never know who's going to listen. You never know whose life is going to be affected and going to be improved by just hearing, you know, one sentence that you may say that may shift everything in their life. So it really is important.
Yeah, we need to take over the airwaves, and every single person, no matter how insignificant you may feel, you have a piece of the puzzle. We all do. It doesn't matter how minor it is, it's still a piece. It's still a piece, and we can't complete it without you. So
absolutely. And I think about like all my nephews, my nieces, my daughter, my, you know, my family, I got this huge family, right? None of them will listen to me. None of them will listen to me. But if somebody else is out there saying something really important, they may hear that, and they'll hear it with a different, you know, completely different filter than what they'll listen to with me, right? They won't handle my stuff, and they on purpose, because they kill the messenger, right? And so please, you know, you'd be helping my family out. Anybody out there who actually speaks up could possibly shift something for my family members, and vice versa. We all need each other.
Man,
yeah.
Go ahead, Alisha.
I was just going to say, so well said, because I think each person resonates with each person. So what you put out may not fully resonate, as you just said. And I can fully attest to that. And I'm two things that come to mind is like, I'm a massive advocate for trying to push people on their path, as scary as it might be. I'm like, just jump off the cliff, because it's going to be amazing on the other side. But I know there's a resistance yeah, you know, there is a resistance to putting yourself out there, you know, but I hope that this inspires people to do it. And the other thing is, each person will have a genre or a frequency that is going to inspire someone, you know, and that's why we all have very specific roles, as I see it. And I'm giggling to myself, because I mean, I don't know this, but I'm just going to put it out there. Like, my dad watches both of you, and you know, quite avidly, but I don't think he'll watch my stuff on YouTube, you know. So like, you know, driving in the car this morning going to walk the dogs, and Dad was like, "Oh, I watched the last segment that you did on Journey to Truth, and I think Allison did a session for and he's telling me all this stuff." And that resonates for him, you know. So it's like, you know, each person that puts a message out there is going to hit some sort of demographic, and that's what's important, to, you know, put the pieces together and inspire, encourage one another, especially at this point in time.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And Allison, I couldn't agree with you more, as far as you said, your family doesn't want to hear from you, but they'll listen to other people the same exact way. My family they don't care what I have to say, but they'll come to me, they'll hear something, and then they'll come to me like, "Oh my God, you won't believe, did you know about this?" I'm like, dude, 2 years ago, we did a show about this. You know? But they don't want to hear it from me. But they're good. It doesn't matter. I'm not supposed to tell them. They're supposed to hear it from whatever source they got it from. That's how it happens.
My parents are the only people in my family that want to hear what I have to say about this kind of stuff. So
that's great.
Lucky
that's
but no one else in my family, like my brother or my half sister or my cousins or aunts, or none of them.
Well, just
care.
Send them my way
or take it seriously. Yeah, there you go.
I think that's why it's so important, like, that we all do our role and our piece of the puzzle, because, you know, we're going to help different people through that. And I think, like, that two visions that I've always seen in this transition in New Earth, because a bit like you, Aaron, I will zone out on the couch for hours and things that are flowing through my head is like, how is like the solar flash going to impact, like these way out things. But I get these kind of images and downloads. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about is like high vibrational relationships. That's a big aspect of my work. And the other one is like soul mission and purpose. And I'm always screaming and kind of pushing. And I've always seen a part of this transition into New Earth is people getting out of the relationships that don't support them and the work or the vocation that doesn't support them and switching into what is supporting them. And as each person makes that shift, it creates that ripple effect. I don't know where I'm going with this. This is just what's
it was just supposed to create a ripple effect. That's all.
Yeah. And so I hope that people watching this are inspired to, if they have had that dialogue in their head that I maybe should start a channel, or maybe I should write a blog, or however it looks, there's so many different ways that you can do it. You may be that person that can help someone save someone's life or give them validation, because it's unique, but we're all going through it together. So
yeah, exactly.
Amen.
Yeah, can you imagine living on the New Earth or living on a planet that's not where we're not all living in survival? Like, imagine if Earth just changed right now. We wouldn't even know what to do to live in a world where there's no propaganda, no programming, where we're not being told what to do. You don't
have to work a job to make money.
Yeah, there's no, you don't see any no trespassing signs. You can go in the park at night, like these things, like they have us on a leash, whether we want to see it or not. You
can live where you want to live. Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if people would know what to do with themselves if we had that kind of freedom.
I would know. I know. I know what to do.
I know
what to do. I got this.
We know.
Take me there. I'm going.
You know what I'm getting? No,
but yes, I agree. The majority,
the collective, like the masses, like people will be bored. I mean, I don't know. I think about that. I just wonder what it would look like, and I can't imagine what a planet would look like when we are just all there to serve each other, and everything's done in unity. I just can't imagine that. I can, but to actually,
that's what New Earth's going to be.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Towards. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, luckily, go ahead. No, should I go? I was going to say, luckily there will be a shift in consciousness, right? That will match that. That's why people won't go there if they're not a match for it, right? But it will be so new. They will have to learn how to do all these things. They get to go through this kind of schooling, right, in order to learn how to do those things that are now available to them, how to actually communicate with these guides, with these ETs that are available to them, how to tap into this web of information that's available to all of us. That's what the internet was made for, right? To replicate what we wanted to be able to do, what we knew we should be able to do. And so there's going to be all of this initiation that will take place on these new planets, or on new to us planets, right? And that is fascinating to find out that we don't just hit the ground running when we go to these places. You're right. There is confusion, even for some of us who know about this stuff and who are expecting it, and who have some of this information. We still don't know how to do all these things. We don't know how to teleport. We don't know how to go underwater without breathing. We don't know how to shape shift. We don't know how to walk through the planet. We don't know how to go onto other planets. We don't know how to speak to all these different galactics, and how to travel, like all this amazing stuff that's going to be available to us. We still have to actually learn how to do it once we get there. And it's not a huge undertaking, but it is still an undertaking.
We don't know how to do it unless you work for a black budget program. Then you can do anything, apparently, because the stuff that we hear that goes on in these programs, they're already living this life in a certain level.
Well, they have like the crazy technology, at least.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's not right. The beautiful.
But it's definitely not
Yeah.
Right. We're talking about a completely different way of being, like a completely different place, a completely
No, I
different
know.
dimension. But I do know that some of them are able to go into other dimensions, right?
Yeah.
There is some dimension hopping that's been happening. So yeah, there are people who, sure, they know how to do this.
And we're not going to pretend like you didn't just say happening.
Happening. I have no problem creating new words, man.
Yeah.
No problem.
Well,
It's great.
I was listening.
I'll happily own that. Trademark it. I don't give a crap. It's happening.
It's happening. Sorry.
No, that's actually what you should title this segment, right? Title this segment.
It's happening. New
It's
Earth.
happening.
Yeah.
Let me just write that down.
I was listening to someone one time about this transition, this shift, and they said if it was to happen and we were to shift into that higher frequency abruptly, our physical bodies actually wouldn't be able to handle it. Like it would actually be painful for us. So we don't necessarily want that. It has to be gradual. And if you listen to some of these whistleblowers and people who are even tuning in, even people like you, Allison, like there's ET groups actually like taking the blow for us and like absorbing those energies and just kind of leaking them out onto the planet subtly so we can integrate instead of just getting slammed, because I don't think that would actually help us. Maybe at one point we would have been ready for it, but we have a long way to go. So as a humanity.
We're in training, we're in preparation. Each day is a preparation, whether you're going through a personal initiation phase, which I like to call that. That's my nice way of going through, those really intense times where everything just like falls apart in your life. But each thing that we are presented with is in alignment with our soul's journey and is preparing us each step, day by day, into integrating more into the new earth experience, for us all. But I do have one question. I'm just going to throw it out there because I'm curious, and we didn't really touch that much on dreams, but for I don't know for how long, I would say for at least 7 years that I can remember, I have occasionally what I call a new earth dream. And how I sort of identify that is I feel that it's a prophetic dream. Everything is like very vibrant in color. And I wake up and I remember really specific details. Is that something that you guys have ever had that you can remember?
I've had a dream of, well, I'd actually want to hear, you never remember your dreams. So this is
very rarely.
Tell us.
I've had, I don't know if, honestly, I didn't think about them as being New Earth dreams. Maybe they were, but I've had dreams where I'm on this beautiful planet that's amazing, like in just what you described. And so maybe that was a New Earth dream. I just thought it was a normal dream, or well, some dreams like that I would be like, was that a past life memory coming through as a dream, or was that just a dream? It's like, I don't know. So
yeah, that's interesting.
Maybe
I've had a dream of the event, the shift. I call it the event. I have to give it quotes because whatever, the comments.
Screw the comments.
No, but I had a dream where it wasn't even a dream. I actually thought it was happening to me for real until I woke up. And I was laying on my couch where I was sleeping at the time, but it happened as if I was laying in that exact same position. And I remember seeing this massive white, brilliant light just coming and like just taking over. And it was just coming through my window. And when it hit me, I remember thinking, oh my God, this is happening. This is actually real. Like I didn't know if I believed it was going to happen. I'm like, holy shit. And it was so heavy. I couldn't even I felt like it was just weighed down. Like I couldn't even move. Like if I even if I wanted to get up off the couch, I wouldn't have been able to. It was like that energy was like gravity was just like flipped on, max. And I eventually woke up out of that, and I was like, damn, it was just a dream, because I was so excited that it actually happened. And this was around the time in 2018 whenever it was supposed to happen anyway. And so
Allison remembers that.
Well, that has nothing to do with Allison.
Yeah.
I mean, this is coming from
it's coming from
across the board. I mean, we were getting solar weather. I mean, there was a lot of crazy stuff going on.
I just pulled a face in because in the other segment I talked about the experience that I had in dream space around the time that I think it was 2018, around the time that Allison had started putting out that information. And I went through a very real experience, and almost word for word what you just said, Tyler, is what I experienced. Different setting, but the actual experience in my body. So that's just a really cool validation.
Yeah, she literally just talked about that right before you guys came. So that was really amazing.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's why I made a comment earlier, as far as it being an individual. Like, what if it actually happened to me on some level of me, some version of me went through that already? And it's like, we talk about getting a download. You get all the information, but it's just going to stay locked up until you're ready for it. So maybe like some version of me went through that, and it's just slowly going to be integrated into my life as I ascend.
I had very similar thought process. Yeah.
Right. That's basically word for word what Alisha was saying. But just as a reminder, all manifestation happens vibrationally before it happens physically, right?
Yeah.
So that you could look at it that way as well. That was a vibrational manifestation of these energies that haven't yet physically shown up yet, and your life hasn't physically shifted. The physical part of your life into this new place hasn't physically happened yet, but that was to vibrationally prepare you for what will happen. Everything happens vibrationally before it is manifested into the physical. So it's one way of looking at that, right? Not that that's the accurate way by any means. I'm not saying that, but I know that to be true.
Sure.
I just want to add on to that, because I totally agree with you, Allison. And we were talking about in the other segment, like the markers to see, to dictate sort of timelines as they vary. And in that experience that I had, I didn't mention that the energy that came in was like a deep purple color, like an indigo color. And I remember that really specifically. So the way that my wacky mind works is that, okay, so it was indigo. So we're starting here in the energetic space. It's got to come through. And I had a series of dreams that were really the most specific detail from the dream was the color of it. And I noticed the pattern that it went from indigo to blue to green. And I was like, so in my mind, I was like, when we get to the dream with the red, that's when we know we're getting close to the physical manifestation of that experience. That was kind of my way of calculating time.
That is funny that you say that, Alisha, because just today I had a client who was talking about colors and energies and all of this stuff changing in the earth. And she said, the red needs to come out. The red needs to come out. And that was like the energy of this roar that we talked about, that I said is one of the benchmarks I'm looking for. That was the energy of this roar. It is red, and it is that base, that root chakra. It is just red energy. So it's funny that you say that when the red happens, that's when it's manifesting into physical. So that's a great validation for you. Wow.
As soon as you went to say that, I was like, of course it's the raw. It's connected to the information that will come out through, that will make that raw happen. And I see that as a very red blood color. I'll just leave it at that. But to me, in my mind, it makes sense.
Yes.
I mean, come on, it's the ultimate red pill.
Yeah.
Oh, it's happening.
Yeah, it's happening.
That's the red pill for the whole planet, that big red wave. Yeah.
All right.
Or-
On that note, I probably should get going, guys.
Yeah.
So
Thank you,
thank you
Alison,
so much.
for staying on with us. I really appreciate your time. And once again, we're going to wrap up this segment. So thank you for doing this mini roundtable, very impromptu. Please follow these guys' work. I'll put it in the description box so you can go and have a look if you're not familiar. And just thank you so much for all the amazing work that all three
Thank you.
all three of you do.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
Allison.
Alisha.
Good chatting with you. You too, Alisha.
Bye, guys. Bye, Alisha. See
Bye,
ya.
Allison.
Bye.